Hey everybody, this is Perch. Well, everybody suspected it was going to happen, and Marvel, in fairness, basically said it was going to happen. But after the Amazing Spider-Man relaunches with Zeb Wells at the helm, John Romita Jr. on the art, and they're promising to turn Spidey's life upside down. He's on the outs with everybody. He's on the outs with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, and even Aunt May's angry with him, and maybe Mary Jane is broken up with him. Everybody hates Spider-Man. He's truly the pariah once more, which of course we've seen before, and in many cases the only disappointing aspect to that is that if you think about it for a second, you go through. Well, hang on, we've had Mr. Fantastic join a council of reeds. We've had several heel turns from the people mentioned. Iron Man ignited the Civil War. Captain America turned Hydra. I mean, you can go down the list of all the things that have happened over the years to Marvel superheroes, but it's like Spider-Man has done something so terrible that nobody trusts him anymore. That that winds up making everybody else, all these other heroes, look pretty ridiculous. But we'll see. We'll see what it is. But the surprised, not surprised news is that Spider-Man number, I believe, 5, right? Because they're relaunching it at number 1. And we're getting Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then Spider-Man number 5 is actually going to be called Spider-Man 900 because they're reverting to legacy numbering, and that's where it's going. So, Marvel certainly wants the opportunity to plaster a couple backup stories in there and charge double for that comic and everything else. What's interesting about the legacy numbering is I think if you talk to most fans, if you talk to most customers, they would say, I want to see Spider-Man 900. It's an accomplishment to get to 900 issues, and that's pretty cool. And I'm proud of this comic, or I don't know if pride is the right word, but there's some excitement to getting to that number. And the fans are like, man, I'll bet there will be a really cool story that we'll hit on that issue, to celebrate that big anniversary, 900. That's cool. I think Marvel looks at it, or DC in fairness, but I think DC really doesn't do this shenanigans with the numbers that Marvel does. But Marvel looks at it and goes, how can we need some more money this month? How can we charge $9.99 for a comic or any of the comics? If we add up comics in some weird way, can we get to a big number? What if what if we add in the Spider-Man team up stuff? That's like half Spider-Man. So where does that get us? Right now, I guarantee you, there's somebody in the Marvel offices who's like, we got Spider-Man 900 this year, but it'd be really cool. Spider-Man 1000. So that's 100 issues. So even if we publish this thing weekly, it's going to take us 2 years and change to get there. So what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? Can we start to count comics that Spider-Man, like Spider-Man was in Secret Wars? I mean, he was on the cover of one of them, and that's like a famous cover where he got the black costume. Sure, we can count that toward this pile of comics, right? I mean, can't we do a big anniversary issue every year? That's I guarantee you those conversations are happening. Again, this isn't unfortunately, this is a thing where if you remember back, I don't know, 8 years ago, this was a very hot topic and an angry topic, a topic for debate. In fact, Marvel was, I think, testing out the first kind of trial runs of toxic fandom around people complaining about the numbering, about the relaunches and the reboots and all that kind of stuff. They were kind of testing the waters for all this, and fans are upset. Now, fast forwarding to 2022, fans aren't that upset anymore. Why? Not because in part because they've accepted it, but more because they've just given in. I think if you ask any customer, any fan in the store, hey, would you like to just see a comic just go from 1 to whatever, chronological order, just like, like The Walking Dead did, like Saga's doing, just go from start to finish. Almost everybody's going to say yes to that. They would prefer it. They don't want to really deal with the number 1 relaunches. No fan gets super excited about a number 1 relaunch. They may get excited about, The fact that there's a big storyline coming in play, or I don't know. They may get excited about certain aspects of it, but nobody's like, oh boy, a new number one. I'm glad they did this. The title needed refreshing. I mean, it's the same writer and maybe even the same artist that's on it, but I for one I was getting exhausted counting to two digits, and so thank goodness it's number one. Um, Generally speaking, most people just like to move it forward. What I do think does irritate people immensely is when the numbering bounces all over the place. And unfortunately, when it does, that creates the confusion and the frustration that Marvel believes, is the reason they need to reboot it. But let's be honest with ourselves. Do we really think that the people at Marvel are going, well, we don't really want to relaunch this as a new number one and a bunch of covers that speculators are going to pick up, but the fans are confused, and we listen to our fans. The fans are confused by these high numbers, and so we just we gotta for the fans. No, they're doing it for money, and everybody needs to make money, so I get it. But all the same, I think the constant bouncing around, the numbering changes, all the rest, it erodes things. It erodes customers. It erodes business. It's not healthy for comics to do this, and it's not healthy for collectors to, try and keep up with it, and it makes everything less special. Unfortunately, Spider-Man 900, it's not going to be as special as if the numbering was just kept consistent, the relaunches didn't happen, everything else. Now, from a pure profit and loss standpoint, yeah, I think that Marvel clearly made money off of Amazing Spider-Man, probably more money because of the relaunches. Some of those Dan Slott number ones made a ton of cash. The Nick Spencer number one made a lot of money. So, it's a tactic that works. It's a tactic that speculators and collectors come in on. For me, I think that there's a way to do it. It takes a little bit more effort and probably a little bit more marketing skill, where you're about to start a brand new storyline, because that happens all the time. The numbering is left intact. They do some special gimmicks with the covers. They do some variants. They do everything else. And they really hype up the number one of a volume, number one of an arc. And you start labeling it that way, again, much like, One Piece and other manga does. And you leave the numbering intact. And that puts you in the position for when you do achieve these milestones, when you do achieve issue 900 or 1000 or whatever it happens to be, it is considered more special. And then you make even more money off of it. I think DC has done more and with the anniversary issues, and they've made more. If you kind of go back and you look at how the sales played out over the last 5 years, the DC anniversary issues did do better than the Marvel ones. And it's because DC still has a little bit more value attached to them. And that's fundamentally why. And it makes sense. It's the difference between a cheap win and a long-term win. And if you're playing for short-term, quick, advantages, then you're going to do exactly what they're doing now. If you're in it for a long business, you play your cards more carefully and you build up to this value. And that's where I think most customers of comics want it to be. I think that this is partly a case of the big two are run scared of what's going to happen in the next few months. And so there's a lot of short-term thinking going on. A lot of comics, unfortunately, and it's the negative aspect about where the comic business is very short-term thinking. Everything is based around kind of the horizon of the next 60 days. Beyond that, it doesn't work. Anyway, let me know if you care. I get a lot of people really, really cared, and it just got quieter and quieter and quieter. At this point in the game, I don't think a lot of people care too much about these numbering changes. But it's not we came to understand what Marvel's doing. It makes sense to us, so we're happy. It's we can't control what Marvel does, and it's frustrating, and we give up. It's that kind of acceptance that's happened, which is not I think where you want a passionate fan base to be. Spider-Man 900 comes out, issue 5. I mean, if somebody really wants to do a good joke, and maybe this is a joke they'd want to do for Deadpool or whatever, they could count up the series with all of the different numbers from, like, here's the, full end to end. Here's the, with all the relaunches. Here's with just some of the core relaunches. Here's counting the mini series, and just have a cover that's just plastered with numbers. I guess it's number 900, and also 67, and also issue 3, and also it's a number 1 for some reason, and also it's 112. It's all of those things. Hooray! That's that seems like a joke Deadpool would do. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.